It's a fresh new day here at Altered Self Studios Games. Altered Self Games. You can wishlist Scuttle now! So since I've talked to you last, I focused on the marketing. The marketing. Creating a social presence, or starting to create a social presence for the game. Because in our culture, what matters more than having a good game? Having good marketing and media, and promotion, and exposure for what you're doing. Unfortunately, that's just the way art works at the moment. So yeah, I've made a ton of little graphics for the game. I have a new Steam store page, which you can wishlist now. And, you know, people gotta know about it. They're gonna hear about the crab game, and they're gonna be like, when's it coming out? I'm like, it's not done at all. And, oh my god, my zipper's been open this whole time. So around New Year's time, I decided to replay one of my favorite games from last year, Hi-Fi Rush. This game incorporates musical elements into combat, and the whole world kind of reacts in a really nice on-beat way, which is something I'm trying to emulate in my game. I somehow managed to corrupt my most complex blueprint I have. Like, this is all broken, and now I have to remake it. So I started recreating the blueprint, and it was a good thing too, because the original version was really messy. And then I accidentally clicked on the blueprint that was corrupted, and Unreal crashed, and I lost all my progress. God damn it. The main character blueprint. Again. I wanted to try a more methodical approach to level design, so I started planning something out in Photoshop and even made like a little guide or legend so I could keep track of what the objects were and like where my placement was going to be. And you know, I just kind of threw down some jump spots, some obstacles, and a fun zone. I don't really know what happens there, but it's gonna be really exciting. And using my guide, I was able to block out the level like an instruction book. Yeah, I mean, I could have done this without drawing it up, I guess, but it made me feel like I was doing something more important. And sometimes the overwhelming feeling of existential dread hits you. Here we go. Oh, God. But what do? We get back on the proverbial horse. So I continue adding jumps, obstacles. There was a seal. I probably spent too much time on the seal, but eventually the level kind of came together, and it was good, like, testing ground. I want the player to do everything on beat, or at least have an incentive to do things on beat of the song that's playing. And the way I've done this is I've made it so you can only jump when you have a full charge. As you can see down in the bottom, we have the blue waves that kind of symbolize a full charge of jumps. And you get that charge by just simply pressing notes on beat of the song. And so you press 4 notes on beat and you can jump. And then you can progress throughout the level because you need to jump to move throughout the level. So it's a nice little incentive to get players to press notes on beat and feel like they're contributing to the music that's being played in the game. Hello. It's 2:30, and it's too bright. This is what we're gonna do today. I want there to be a health system, a very simple health system, and it's just gonna 3 lives. You lose all of them, you restart the level, and then you can also rebuild your lives at the safe zone. Okay, so I made a quick widget system and a life counter in the main character blueprint. It wasn't too complicated. So now, when you get near an obstacle, you start losing health, and that's it. And when you finally lose too much, you die. So I'm having a really hard time deciding if I want to make the game relaxing or, I guess, exciting. Like, do I want to make it challenging and rewarding, or zenful, zen, and, I guess, but easy. And, I just worked on a bunch of stuff to make it more challenging, but as I play it, I'm kind of wanting it to be more zen. So to distract myself from the real problem, I quickly made a fence in Blender, imported it into the game, and made it dance using the MIDI engine. And so now we have a dancing fence, which is going to be one of the main things you need to jump over in the game. Hello. So I've created this dynamic music system. So all this means is I can just play different parts of the song whenever I want and keep them looping for as long as I want, and it won't sound like anything stopping or starting. Which is pretty neat. Today, is it this one? Yeah. This. Why is there two? There's three. What is this one from? There's another one. So just for fun, I created like a running and jumping off ledge style game mode to see how this might work in the context of the controls that I had. And to be honest, it was pretty fun, but I just don't think this is the type of game I'm really going for. And the just sheer length and scale of the maps that would be needed for this is not really applicable to how I want to have really detailed and artsy environments. Oh yeah, and I finally coded a seagull event. So essentially, when a seagull gets too close, it triggers a seagull event in which he'll play a melody for you, and then you'll have to play it back for him, or else he'll eat you. And it is really satisfying seeing these 3D objects dance in the world, especially when the MIDI data is more intricate. In the future, I want to actually add a bit more complexity to how these things move in relation to the music, but for now, it's still pretty cool. Of course, it's also fun to plug in other songs and just see how they work in the game world. And you know, if you're making a game, you gotta make everything from scratch. You know, you can't buy paid assets, you know, that's not your game. You gotta do everything from the ground up, or else it's not yours. That's why I will never buy anything that is someone else has made or use anything like that. I'm gonna make everything from scratch. I bought this whole pack, it was a great deal, it made everything better, it's awesome. And of course, you know, the first thing I did with the pack was play with the beach ball. Obviously that's the best item there, and you know, I don't know how it's going to be used in the game, but it's definitely going to be featured somehow. Maybe you'll just play with it and that's it. And for some reason the shark did not like me playing with the beach ball. I think it was his. I don't know why he came out of the water, but I beat it. I wasn't playing with the ball. So I wanted to take these assets and create this new map that really could be used as a demo level for the game. So I started placing the assets around and moving some of the larger components of the map to get a nicer flow, adding some more detail in the foliage, and just trying to add things that increase the overall artistry of the environment. Okay, so I've made this very nice little environment, or at least started to make, using the paid for assets. And I had like a epiphany on how the gameplay loop could work. Initially, I was like, the player's just going to run as fast as they can throughout the map and get to the end to get to the sandwich, and then the level will go to the next one. But then I thought, how can I keep them in this area longer? so that I get more runtime out of this area that I'm putting a lot of environmental effort into. And so instead of making it a, I guess, speedrunner third-person platformer, maybe it's a collection third-person platformer. So that's where these guys come in. So these little orbs are like musical charms that you need to collect to progress to the next part of the level. Some of them are very simply on the ground, you run up to them. Some of them you'll have to use some jumps or even multiple jumps to get to where they're kind of hidden. And eventually, the point is you'll collect enough of these where this gate will open and you can move on to the next section where a similar challenge will occur, except maybe there's also a seagull in the air. And so I feel like this loop makes a lot more sense for the type of maps I want to create, and we're using like the dynamic songs. Yeah, that's the plan. That's all I have for you today. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. I feel like I finally decided on a gameplay loop that will work. I feel like I did my due diligence in like weighing my options with other versions of what the game could be, but I'm pretty excited to move away from the prototyping phase of game development and into the production phase. It's all coming together. The biggest part I need to work on now is, I guess, making a demo that showcases all the elements working together in tandem. And one of the biggest characters of this game is the music. So I gotta really hunker down and decide how I want the transition of music to play in the game world. Thank you so much for watching. But I'll see you guys next time.